Hi guys, in this video we're going to talk about the parameters of linear equations. We have two parameters for linear equations in the slope by intercept form y equals mx plus b. The first parameter is the slope or the rate of change, or as we know, the difference in y over the difference in x. And the second parameter is the b, or the y-intercept, or initial value. So in this case, m is the same as the slope, is the same as the rate of change, and it's the same as the difference in y over the difference in x. And b in the slope in y-intercept form is the y-intercept, or it's also called the initial value. So for y equals negative 3x plus 4, negative 3 is the slope or the rate of change, and 4 is the y-intercept or initial value. And these two are the parameters of this linear equation. Now, let's find out if we can find the parameters looking at a graph of a line. So we said that the parameters are the slope and the y-intercept. So let's start with the b, or the y-intercept, or where the graph cross the y-axis. So in this case, if we look at this graph, we'll find out that the y-intercept is 7, because at 7, the line crossed the y-axis. So in this case, the y-intercept, or b, equals 7. Now, the second parameter is the slope, or since we're looking at a line, it's the rise over run. So I'm gonna choose two nice points to work with on the line, so I can find what the rise over run is. So I'm gonna choose the y-intercept and this point right here. So going from the bottom point to the y-intercept, I'm going up 1, 2, 3 units, so that's plus 3. I'm going to the left 1 unit, so that's a negative 1. So the slope for this line is negative 3, because the rise is 3 and the run is negative 1. So I can write a linear equation for this line, or a linear equation that represents this line, by following the slope by intercept form. So the equation for this line is going to be y equals negative 3x plus 7, because I have negative 3 as the slope and 7 as the y-intercept, or b. Now let's take a look if we can identify the parameters of a line from a table of values. So in this table of values, we're trying to find the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing I'm going to try and find is the v-value, or the y-intercept, which has an x value of 0. So in this case, looking at the table of values that I have here, I can see that the y-intercept is 1. So b in this case is going to have a value of 1. Now, to find the slope, I know that the slope is the difference in the y over the difference in the x. So by looking at this table, I can find the difference of the y by finding the difference in any two values in the table. So I'm going to choose these two values, 1 minus a negative 1, which is a 2, and then the difference in the x, which is 0 minus negative 1, which is 1. So basically, the slope in this case is going to be 2 over 1, which is 2. So I can write a linear equation for this line that can represent the table of values in the slope y-intercept form, which is y equals 2x plus 1. 2 is the slope, and 1 is the y-intercept or b. Now let's try and find the parameters of a line that goes through the 2 points. So I have -1 and 5, and -5 and -3 as an example of 2 points, and I need to find the parameters of the line that goes through these 2 points. So I'm going to organize my points into a table of values where I have x and y. Now, we know that the slope is the difference in the y over the difference in the x. To find the slope, I have to find the difference in the y first. -3 minus 5 is -8. And -5 minus -1 is -4. So the slope is going to be -8 divided by -4, which is in this case is going to be 2. I don't have a y-intercept, but I can use the equation y equals mx plus b to find b. So in this equation, I have the value of the slope, which is 2. And all I need to do is to use this equation to find the b value. Now I have 2 points here that satisfy the equation. These 2 points are 2 solutions for the equations. Each one has an x and a y value. And it doesn't matter which point I use to find the b value, it's going to be the same. So I'm going to choose the first point. I have a y value of 5 and an x value of -1. All I need to do is to solve this linear equation to find the b value. I have 5 equals 2 times -1 is -2 plus b. Now all I need to do to find the b is to add 2 to both sides, which is going to make me end with a b value of 7. So the equation for this line is going to be y equals 2x plus 7. Now we have special cases here. The first special case is horizontal lines. Horizontal lines, as we said before, has a slope of 0. That means that the only thing that I'm going to have in that equation is the y-intercept. So horizontal lines have a formula or an equation of y equals a, where a is the y-intercept. So in this example, the linear equation that can represent this line is going to be y equals -3. Now we also have a special case with vertical lines. In vertical lines, as you can see, we know from previous lessons that the slope for vertical lines is undefined. So we do not have a specific value for the slope. At the same time, we don't have a y-intercept. The only thing that we have for this line is the x-intercept in this case, which is where the line cross the x-axis. So vertical lines are represented by the x-intercept, and their formula is x equals a, where a is the x-intercept. So for this example, the equation for this vertical line is going to be x equals 2. Now let's find out how we can find perimeters from word problems. We have this word problem where the cost of renting a car for 1 day is $34 plus 25 or $0.25 per mile. Let X represent the number of miles the car was driven, and let Y represents the rental cost in dollars for a day. Identify the parameters and write a linear equation that represent this scenario. We know that the linear equation can be represented by y equals mx plus b. So in this case, I'm going to have to find the value of the slope and the value of b. which is the initial value. So M in this case is going to be the rate of change, and B is going to be the initial value. In this problem, we know that we have to, for renting a car or for one day, we have to pay $34 as initial fees. So $34 is going to be the initial value for this linear equation. And then after that, we have to pay $0.25 or 25 cents per mile. So in this case, we have an average rate of change. We have a rate in this problem, which we will consider as the slope or m. So the linear equation that can represent this scenario here is y equals 0.25 x plus 34, where the 0.25 is the average rate of change or the slope, and 34 is the initial value or the y-intercept.